Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel, guys. You've got Bert and Lanny, the DD guys. This is another stock news Saturday, breaking news. What hit the fan? Oh my gosh, buying dividend stocks like it's nobody's business Saturday. Again, this is DD. We are here to bring you three newsliners from this past week.
Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Let's keep the noise going. We've already pushed out 3 videos this week. This is the 4th cherry on the cake. Check out the last one where we talk about Dollar General in the not so great looking dollar store sector. This is going to be fun though. We've been teasing a breaking news video where we just talk about some of the big stories from the week, some dividend related, some not. Overall though, every story impacts dividend stocks one way or the other. So that's what's going to be fun as we jump into these 3.
Yeah, guys, and we're gonna hit it right away here. Again, like Bert said, this is really overall market news, economic news. Some might impact your dividend stock portfolio, your net worth, your money market accounts, your crypto accounts, guys. So we just want to bring you the news right now. So let's talk, guys. The first topic, really, let's talk about CEOs right now of publicly traded companies. I feel like there's like a mass, either people are just leaving or they're being terminated. The Arnold Schwarzenegger method. And we had two big ones this week. The first, we'll talk about here is it impacts the Warner Brothers or Warner Media Discovery, whatever you want to call that company, WBD, where the CNN CEO is now gone, Bert.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing more to say. It's a big shakeup, obviously. CNN's a part of it, a major part of what's going on at Warner Media, but it's an overall showing that when a stock goes down, companies and boards are finally and shareholders are finally starting to hold those that are running the company accountable. So I think what's the expression, Lanny? When the tide goes out, you see who's not wearing pants. And I think that's kind of what's happened over the last year when it was easy for a company to do well when debt was cheap. It was easy when cash was flowing. Banks and everyone were handing out money. It's a lot harder to run a successful business when you have higher interest rates, when you actually have to make tough decisions. And some of the CEOs are really paying for that.
Really paying the price. So that person is gone. But the stock market sprung up. And actually, WBD is up over 22% in the last 5 days. So if you're still holding on to the stock or recently bought the stock, you're now up 22%. If you're looking to exit the stock, get those limit sell orders ready. But let's get into CEO number two that just hit the fan here today on June 8th. It comes down to GameStop CEO. He is also gone, and that stock price went down about 18% here on Thursday.
Chaotic meme stock. Just it's been a rough few years for GameStop. I mean, there's nothing more to it. They can't seem to find what they want to do as a strategy either. Their inventory management system's awful. They spend a lot of money, a lot of wasteful money shipping you things that don't necessarily match what you even bought. So it's business is not doing well. So the CEO's gone. See if they turn it around, or is this going to be a GameStop is gone too in the future at some point?
Big footprint and a lot of fixed cost in the GameStop. Obviously, video game entertainment right now, getting out of the pandemic. There's a lot to be said about it, especially as consumers are going to a lot of subscription-based things, reality, AI, et cetera, et cetera. And it's where does GameStop fit into that? So those are two big CEO news that hit the fan. Bert, what's your take? Or what's the takeaway from this?
So I think my takeaway from this is it doesn't mean these stocks are left for dead. It doesn't mean they're bad companies. It just means they're kind of reaching that turning point. The management team just couldn't get it done. The shareholders weren't happy. The shareholder returns were terrible for these two companies. Bring in new management. Can you turn it around? There have been plenty of successful stories of companies that have been able to turn around. There are plenty of other companies where the turnaround story falls short, like JCPenney back in the day, like
Bed
Bed
Bath
Bath
and
and
Beyond.
Beyond. Like they can go both ways, but you have to move quickly. And I don't know which way Warner Brothers is going to go. Stock market's reacting one way. GameStop, it seems to be heading another way. What's your take, Lanny?
Yeah, I mean, obviously stay invested in the stock market. Don't try to time or pick some of these meme stocks like GameStop, or volatile unknown industries of what the telecom slash streaming space is going to be. Keep it simple. Buy some dividend aristocrats, buy dividend kings, buy your favorite ETF, VYM, or SCHD.
SEHD.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not leave.
I would say keep it simple too, just so that you can sleep at night. You don't have to worry about the big swings here, or if the company's going to exist in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months.
Yeah, know what you want, know that stock's role, know your role, and sit in the pipeline. Because if you're going to invest in a GameStop and the turnaround story, just know it could just be gambling. That could be what you're doing with your money. But if that's what you want in your portfolio, just know that if you're what you want in the turnaround story.
Yeah. So let's get into the second topic here, guys. Let's talk about the Binance CEO also being sued right now. Speaking of CEOs, very good segue. So Big Z is getting sued by the United States, by the SEC. They're coming after Binance.us right now, which is really shaking up the crypto space, obviously. So Zhao's, ducking and dodging. And again, the crypto exchange space has already seen so many exits, BlockFi, Voyager, FTX, just to name a few.
Yeah, it's more trouble. It seems like this is obviously not corroborated, but it seems like it goes in like 3 month cycles with the crypto thing. Like you have your big exits, you have what happens with Voyager, you have their 3 months of good news and calmness, then something else happens that shakes the market, something else happens that shakes the market. Seemed like everything was getting its feet under it after FTX and everything, and now here's the SEC going after Binance after. And this could be why they backed out of their Voyager deal too, because they just knew other things were coming. They had bigger fights to fight than trying to acquire Voyager.
Yeah. And US has even asked Binance.us to freeze assets. So again, if you're on, some of these exchanges, obviously you make your own decisions. We don't really invest too much into crypto over here, but cold
Yeah.
cold storage, your own wallet obviously makes a lot of sense right now in case you want to hold crypto. There's a lot of pressure mounting on these exchanges. So it's only sometimes a matter of what's the next exchange that will garner the US or the SEC's attention. Because of this news, Bitcoin had a nice flash crash downwards, just a few percent. But guys, you look, if I hate to say it, but if you zoom out on Bitcoin for year to date, it's actually up like 60%.
Yeah. I mean, it hit such a low point last year. It's easy. It came back. It came roaring back. I mean, what's your thoughts on all of this, Lanny? What do you think? Like, what comes to mind?
It's still an untested, there's probably a lot of regulation, unfortunately, that needs to be held here in order to, a lot of learning points are going to be had from it, but just in order not to protect anybody by any means, but just in terms of putting a little more structure,
Mm-hmm.
just due to the domino effect of collapses that are happening. It's almost like I'm sure the first few banks that started, like I wonder what the collapse was like when there was a first run on the banks. That's to talk about like the Great Depression or the S&L crisis. But I think there's a lot of learning to be had probably over the next 12 to 36 months, because it's not never a short thing.
Well, no, it's funny that you mentioned that. Like, this just popped into mind as you were saying that. Like, you talk about the bank runs in the Great Depression. What came out of that? I wish I could. Was it whatever act it was? I think it was 1933 to 34, whichever one it was, where it split up the regular banks and it split up the investment banks, and they couldn't cross. Like, they couldn't cross pollinate assets. And what you're having now, what's going on with there? You have your staking, you have all the complex stuff that's going on, and you have the people that want to hold Bitcoin. I wonder if that's a logical solution for what could be a good way out of this. If you want to just hold your Bitcoin, you don't want to get into the complicated transaction. Here's your simple exchange. If you want to get involved in the heavy stuff, do it at your own risk. It's outside the purview of the regulations, but it's all at risk.
Old Glass-Steagall
Thank
Act.
you. Yeah, I couldn't remember which one it was on the spot.
But yeah. So
That's my thought.
thought, again, we were caught up briefly in some of this other exchange stuff. Obviously, know what you're doing, and risk what you're okay to lose as
And
well.
And what's interesting too is they came back. They came also for Coinbase. The SEC's pick is working through Coinbase too, who was an SEC registered company too. So it's, I don't know. Who knows?
Wild times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah. So buckle up, watch out. Who knows? Every 3 months it seems to be something. So let's move on to our third story, because it wouldn't be an update without the Federal Reserve Bank being discussed here on the Diplomats channel, would it, Lanny?
That's right. FRB, guys, got a big meeting coming up June 14th, guys. The big Papa Powell's coming out. Probably isn't sleeping too well, or maybe he is. Maybe he's like, you know what? Whatever everybody else wants to talk about, it's fine with me. I'm going to sleep just fine. But let's dive in a little bit into that upcoming Federal Reserve meeting, because just recently we got some new news about the U.S. unemployment. The claims have surged. I use that in quotes just because of how low they've been. It's almost like if there's anything, it's a high amount. They're at their 18-month high essentially now for claims on unemployment. So, it's funny, Bert. They're actually most of it, a lot of it's in Ohio. So what has happened? So what that means is it gives a signal to the economy that, oh, look, businesses are tightening up, things are tightening up, so they're laying off people. Consumers are still wanting to spend. So, oh shoot, I've spent all my money, so now I need to, file for unemployment some way, shape, or form. So this has signaled that, the next week meeting may not have a rate hike, which has sent U.S. Treasuries downward, short and long, because it gives an indication that they're going to keep it flat and maybe keep it flat for an extended period of time, possibly.
Yeah, which is great news. It's a very good summary of everything that's going on with the Fed right now. There's not really much more to add at all. I know
25-75 split right now, 75% chance of a flat, no increase.
And that might just be what's needed. I mean, that's kind of what you were waiting for, some of these warning signs and some of these cracks in the economy to show before the Fed slowed down its rate hikes, because the whole point of it was to slow down the economy, take cash out. So if the economy is still showing signs of a hot economy with all the great news, got to keep it going. But it's interesting now that we'll see what's coming up here. That's going to be a big announcement next week. There are going to be a lot of eyes on this, especially now that the debt ceiling has been suspended. They worked out their deal. Treasury's gonna start issuing huge amounts of treasuries again too, coming out for the rest of the year. So you're gonna see a flood of new treasuries hitting the market. And what interest rate are they gonna be at?
Right. And then meanwhile, north of the border here, Canada said, hold my beer. And they rose actually their interest rate to 4.75%. So that's their highest in 22 years. So, with the potential of a flat, essentially no increase next week, what would you do if you were an investor or a saver?
It's a great question. I mean, obviously we always keep saying here, keep investing going through this, but this also might be a time to look at your treasury ladders that you're building. If rates are expected to be flat or even expected to start trending downward going forward, this might be time to capture some longer maturing treasuries, where you go out a little bit on the ladder, lock in the higher rates while they're still offered and they're still available, if you're interested in building up that treasury ladder before the rates come down and they're no longer offered.
Yeah, exactly, guys. So when long-term rates start showing a sign of dropping, now could be a better time to lock in long on treasuries, CDs, et cetera, et cetera. So, just know that at the time that window is going to shut at some point. And in the same, I guess, vein, as people like to say it, once those treasuries start to drop and the borrowing rate does come down, the stock market is going to roar, because the cost of doing business just got a heck of a lot cheaper. And then earnings would more than likely grow. So just keep that in mind, that there's a lot of inverse relationships that typically could happen here, not guaranteed, obviously.
No, but that's what the historical trends told us. So those are our big three stories for the day. Just to summarize them here quickly. CEO's been a tough week for CEOs. CEO of CNN, gone.
You are fired.
GameStop, gone. Different reactions too, as Warner Brothers jumped up in price. GameStop went down in price. Number two, another tough week for CEOs in the crypto world, as Binance has now gotten a fight picked by the SEC with it, along with Coinbase. So there's a lot of news to continue to unfold here in the crypto market. And lastly, big Jerome Powell's going to come down the thing and just say, like, I'm going to be the one that you all have to listen to next week, because we have a huge meeting and we could potentially pause those interest rate hikes or even drop rates if it comes to it.
Appreciate the summary, guys. Let us know in the comments what you think about the news. Obviously, from all the CEO news, the Fed news coming up here, let us know in the comments below. Let us know how your week went and what stocks you're buying and what investments you're pursuing. That was Bertha Hurt and Laney from the Dividend Diplomats. Oh, wait. If you're not with us, you're against us. That was Bert and Laney. Over and out.